Welcome y'all to another episode of the Ripple Podcast where we talk about the things that matter to small business. This week, we're going to be talking about leadership Tangipahoa. I'm here with Mark Verbois and Eddie Hebert, and we were graduates of the 2018-2019 class of Leadership Tangipahoa. And I'll let them introduce themselves. Mark, tell us.
Again, my name is Mark Verbois. I was part of my connection to Leadership Tangipahoa was the Theta Psi Alumni Association. I kind of found out about Leadership Tangipahoa many years back. I was formerly on the Ladies Top 28, Sweet 16, changed names, basketball board, LHSA basketball board here for the Hammond local board, and just got involved with the community, and that's where I learned about it. My new job, I switched positions at my current work, allowed me the opportunity to do that, and like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been wonderful.
All right.
So.
Eddie?
And so I'm Eddie Hebert. I'm the current Kinesiology and Health Studies Department Head at Southeastern Louisiana University. I knew about Leadership Tangipahoa because there's always a representative of campus that's on it. I'd read the articles in the Hammond paper, and I was intrigued with the program. I had a friend of mine that went through it and he told me, you need to do this. You're a perfect candidate for this. You're going to really enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, I'm Brian Walker. I'm the co-owner of Five Stones Media, and own Five Stones with my wife Kim. And for years now, I've heard Kim talk about Leadership Tangipahoa, and I've known that she wanted to go to it or through it. And
Had to beat her to it a little bit.
well, not intentionally, but I serve on the Tangipahoa Economic Development Foundation board, and it is customary that the incoming president or someone on the board goes through Leadership Tangipahoa, and they asked me if I would do it, and I was like, oh boy, I'm going to get in trouble for this one because Kim's been wanting to do it for years. So, but anyway, that's why I went through, and Kim's actually, she just got accepted to go into the 2019-2020 year. So, well, let's just kind of talk about Leadership Tangipahoa and all of the things that we did. It started out with a meet and greet.
Right.
And that was really my first opportunity to know who else was in the class. Did y'all know anything beforehand?
I don't know of anybody you.
No, it was a great surprise to get there and, of course, see a few familiar faces.
Correct.
But also, meet some people that were going to be part of your cohort, part of your class.
The great thing about the group of Leadership Tangipahoa, and even the incoming year, is it's really it runs a gamut. You got very new people, fairly new people to the business world in the Hammond area, and then you got seasoned professionals like Mr. Eddie Hebert himself, and a couple CEOs and high-ranking leaders in the community. So that group, that's what makes it fun. It really is.
And I think that's a great strength of the program is the diversity of the people who are in each of the classes, because there's one representative from the university, and there are people who work in parish government and people who work in private business. It is a great group of people who come from various careers that are all
Correct.
together to kind of learn the same thing.
Careers, ages, all of it.
Yep.
That's right.
I was pleasantly surprised. When I got there, I thought that I was going to know most of the people that were there, and found that I actually knew maybe a third of the people.
Same.
So it was a lot of new faces, and some young people that are coming up as leaders in the community. So I really enjoyed that. And then so we had the meet and greet, and then it was just a couple of weeks later, we went to Rosaryville, and we did the SimSoc. SimSoc is short for Simulated Society.
Right.
Don't want to get too much into that.
Yep.
For those of y'all who are going to be going through Leadership Tangipahoa, that's an experience for you to have on your own without us giving you.
Correct.
Yeah. But I will say that we had a great time at Rosaryville getting to know each other.
It was.
We had a very interesting way of learning each other's names.
Yes. Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Nice little icebreaker.
Yeah. And it was just a good opportunity to get to know each other. We each had a roommate during that time, so really good. But when we really got into what Leadership Tangipahoa was about was our first monthly meeting, if you want to call it that, or
Field trip.
yep.
Yep.
And the very first one was parish government. So during the parish government month, which by the way, Leadership Tangipahoa, it's a once a month outing, and we're gone pretty much for the entire day from 8 o'clock in the morning until, gosh, sometimes as late as what, 6
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the latest. Was about 6 o'clock. But we during that day we went to the Emergency Operations Center. We visited the parish council. We visited the assessor's office, the clerk of court, the register of voters, Florida Parish's event center, the animal shelter, and mosquito abatement. So, what were some of the things that stood out to you that day?
I'll tell you from my standpoint, I like that day because it's a good informational. It sets the base, kind of sets the groundwork for the coming year, meaning that it sets that you tend to be more intellectual. You get a little more thought process and thinking of how things go on as the year goes on. That parish government day really, like I said, set the day or set the year. My biggest takeaway from that day, a lot of it has to do with funding and how our parish is funded and how it runs. But one thing that I took out of every one of those steps is, when you get elected as a politician, you're supposed to be a good steward of the citizens' money. The parish has done a wonderful job at that. It seems like every one of those steps, though, has found grant money, aka free money or a large portion funding, matching funding, in every one of those steps to try to get the parish up to a standard that exceeds everybody around us for the state. And every one of those, starting, we met that morning with Robbie Miller, the parish president, and like I said, every one of them, as we went through those departments, generally had some statement about, hey, we found grant money, and this is where we're spending it, and this is how we're using it, and we're making improvements. So that's one of the biggest things I took away from that day.
I think I got a real perspective on how much parish government is a coordinated team effort.
Correct.
And it's important for the teammates to all know one another, even though they have a specific job, and that you really have to feel like the team has good morale and we are working towards some goals. And I really got that from that first time, how much the people who work for the parish appreciate working for the parish. They feel like they are on the move, feel like we're going in the right direction. And as you say, setting the tone for what's going to happen. I met people and saw people, parish president, assessor, clerk of court, registrar. I met those elected and appointed people. They took time out to talk to us. And I went and saw things and places that I had never been in the parish, even though I've lived here 20 years.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and all of those people, and that was the thing that stood out to me, is that all of those people, they genuinely care about what it is that they're doing.
Right.
They want to help people. They were the nicest people that there was no faking it. They genuinely just wanted to help.
That's correct.
And I loved that about that day, was just seeing how much all of those people care about their job and care about helping the community.
Correct. Robbie Miller said it. I mean, he said it when he got elected, but he said it that day, how we truly are #Team Tangi. And that's one of his things is he said, when you call other businesses or even parishes or municipalities, whoever, when you pick up the phone, that a lot of times they'll say, oh, I don't know, and they kind of hang up, or they'll say, hey, call so-and-so. His thing from day one, and it's like you're saying, it's like they're truly a team, and they really care. If you pick up and you're calling the registrar voter's office and that you meant to call animal shelter, they're not just going to, hey, just here's the number. They're either going to go find the answer or directly connect you, or, hey, this really is a number. If we get disconnected, this is who to call. Like, there's that compassion, that care that really puts Team Tangi on the map.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an amazing day.
Out of all those, I mean, it's hard to pick out one thing, but as we look at the list of activities, the mosquito abatement program, you go there and you think, well, they're just spraying for mosquitoes, but there's some serious science going on.
Correct.
And they are changing the way that they do things, and they're trying to be the best. And I really got that lots of times going through parish government. We want to be the best at doing this. And I left there thinking I have a lot of confidence in what's going on at all these parish agencies.
It was very cool to see that with the mosquito abatement. We're one of the few parishes that actually have the equipment to be able to test right here for
Correct.
West Nile virus. Whereas most of the parish agencies have to send it off, like to LSU, have it tested for them, and then by the time they get back, that's just wasted time. So I loved it. I thought the entire thing was really interesting. And then the animal shelter, of course,
Right.
which I was over there the other day, and they're actually doing an expansion on that. So
Well, I'll tell you the fun thing that I found, and I sort of knew this, but really, when you look at this whole list, most of it is like I hate to talk about funding and politics, but it's all funded by the 1 cent sales tax. Like pretty much our government, our parish government is run on 1 cent sales tax, and it's like now mosquito abatement wasn't, but a lot of the stuff, it was so detailed and so everything that goes into it, and it's all on 1 cent sales tax. And it's like how much they squeeze out, how much blood you got out of turnip they squeeze out, and it's impressive. When we talk about how well the parish is run and set us apart, that emergency operations center to me though is one of the coolest things, physical structures that I've seen since we've been there. The EOC, like I said, that was one of those grant monies, and when you say you want to set us apart, that's setting Tangipahoa Parish apart right there.
Absolutely. That was extremely impressive. Not only the facility, but the people who are there and the capabilities of what they can do. We learned from Katrina and the other disasters, and we are prepared to not have disasters impact us like it has in the past. And again, I left there thinking I'm so much more confident in what our parish can do than what I anticipated.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the second outing that we had, which was where we visited our municipalities. We started off the day at the Greater Hammond Chamber of Commerce. We moved on to Hammond City Hall, then to the Hammond Airport, National Guard, Ponchatoula City Hall, the Hammond Assimilation Sewer Facility, and the Hammond Downtown Development District.
Correct.
So what were your big takeaways from that day?
Eddie?
Start with the stuff that jumps out though. I was extremely impressed with is what's going on at the airport. Again, it was been here for 20 years. Had no idea how much traffic our airport had. I knew we had a National Guard, but I had no idea the extent of what they do there. That they run the facility.
Beautiful facility too.
It's
Spotless.
right.
Spotless.
And that if you're going to fly a Black Hawk helicopter for the National Guard, you were coming to Hammond to train. No idea that existed. And also the potential for growth at the Hammond Airport. I felt, again, very much on the move, very progressive thinking. That was the mayor of Hammond is Pete Panapinto, who had this vision and just pushed this. And again, a very forward-moving, forward-thinking thing about our community is what's going on at the airport.
When you look at the airport, I'd heard this prior to the Leadership Tangipahoa class, but we got to go inside the tower. Like, to be able to, you probably can make some phone calls and maybe as a citizen go and see and tour it. But for us to get firsthand knowledge, get to see the tower, that's a fairly, it's what, a year or two old? And I'd heard this before about how bringing business into the parish, how we had to get this tower. Like, businesses weren't going to come for the size aircraft they need for the business they had, weren't going to come until we got that. And like you're saying, it's like that's forward thinking, that's revenue. They were adding new hangars out there. Like, for us as a Leadership Tangipahoa class to get to see that and experience that, like, you're not going to get that every day. And like I said, we got to sit inside a Black Hawk helicopter. Granted, we didn't fly them, but to sit inside and just see them, Kyle Johnson, who was on our Leadership Tangipahoa class this year, his grinning ear to ear, and he said from day one, that's the coolest thing he's ever done. Send a Black Hawk helicopter, but that's all part of Hammond and Tangipahoa Parish, and that's the crossroads that we always talk about as a parish all stems from that airport. So again, like I said, when you look at what we have in the parish and the things that we got to see as a class here, we talk about the grant money being used. Pete Panapinto said, hey, we have this as a funding as a city. They set aside a block of money that for grant money, when the matching funds come in, they have it sitting there waiting. So I mean, they're using money well, and like I said, that's one thing I got from this class is like we're up and coming, and we're really going to make our name for ourselves. I mean, it's impressive.
Well, you think about that airport and the asset that it is. That airport has U.S. Customs. There's actually been discussion about that becoming an international airport at some point.
Wow.
To where now we're not going to have commercial flights coming in and out of there, but you think about the private flights that are coming in from other countries to be able to bypass Louis Armstrong and come right here into Hammond. And what that does for economic development, for the potential for businesses to come into this community and businesses that may have locations in other countries to be able to fly in directly into Hammond and do business right here. It's already been discussion about this with some companies, and that's been a huge thing for them, is that airport becoming an international airport. So we got U.S. Customs there, we got the National Guard there. That there are a lot of things that areas will tout as one of their assets, but that airport is the real deal.
That's right.
And it is just getting started.
Well, you talk about happy accidents, and I say it in a happy way, but Katrina, for our area, that everybody realized that we're high and dry, and that's now the hub for energy and some of these large companies that when we have a natural disaster, they're coming to the airport, Hammond, Louisiana. So, I mean, like I said, that accident of Katrina, like I said, put a focus back on us and put us, like I said, where we're at the forefront, that we have to make improvements and we have to keep this, and it really is this gem that we have that a lot of people don't know about.
You know, one of the things that's not on our list, but I think it was in that group, was also the City of Hammond Rec Department's after-school program.
That's right.
That's down here, social services.
Oh, that was, well, I'm just going to put it in with that group right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the City of Hammond's, attempts to reach out to the youth in our region.
Yeah.
The mayor is extremely passionate about that. But we were there. The kids got off the bus. They had big smiles on their faces. They were greeted at the door. They had a snack. They got to play. They did their homework. And then they can stay there for an extended period of time. There's a bus that leaves and brings them home. Parents can pick them up. I was just extremely impressed that the City of Hammond is pursuing that.
The other thing I got from that day, too, just real quick, is that I didn't understand the complexity of the Hammond Downtown Development District, how it's like, it's a funding, and I grew up here, and, seeing it in the high school, junior high age, like, Hammond was nice, but it's not, like, the downtown is not what it was back then in a good way. Like, the expansion from that and what goes into that, there's a lot of services. Like, a lot of people don't realize that you can do these grants to improve the facade of your building, these low interest loans that they have, how much things like that make improvements in the community. A lot of people don't realize what goes behind the scenes, and it leads to things like you're saying, like the Kennedy Center for the after school program is centered in downtown. So I mean, those little things that happened 20, 30 years ago, somebody's forward thinking, saying, hey, we need to make changes, and how can we make improvements? How it has this ripple effect of down the line, how much improvement's going to come out of it.
Well, the DDD Hammond's slogan is "It's happening. It's happening in Hammond."
Yep.
And it really is. I live in downtown Hammond, and just about at least a couple of nights a week, we walk outside and there's music playing. There's people just out, strolling, and those are the big nights. I mean, there's smaller events that are happening, all the time.
Yeah.
But it is happening in Hammond. When you go outside in the evenings, it's just a fun atmosphere. It's a cool place to live. The DDD has been doing a really great job with the farmers market. Then of course their premier event is Hot August Night, which that's always a great time.
Wonderful
Starry November night. The Brews Arts Festival. They've just got all kind of cool things that are happening down here all the time.
Well, I'll plant this little seed because Ponchatoula's starting their downtown development district, and it's not going to be to the broad scope that Hammond's is, at least not at this point. But it started this year. They've recently hired somebody, so it's be cool to see 20 years down the line, will the same effect happen in Ponchatoula and they did in Hammond? I'd love to see people, Amite and the Kent Woods and your northern side of the parishes start doing the same similar type thing and try to get some revitalization. Hopefully, it'll take off like it did here.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Hidden Treasures Day, which this was one of my absolute favorite days.
Yeah.
So I'll start this one off. We went and met with Dr. Sam Hyde at Southeastern. Then we went to the Louisiana Renaissance Festival. We visited Covey Rise Farms. We visited Rise Escape Rooms, and then Gnarly Barley. My favorite part of that day was with Dr. Sam Hyde, just learning the history of Tangipahoa, about bloody Tangipahoa, and all about the oh gosh, what is it that Texas has got?
The Lone Star Republic
Yes.
and the West Florida revolt that happened on the North Shore, and our highway thoroughfare, how it all started. Not to jump on your thing, but how that group of people left New Orleans and went to our area, and they were essentially revolting. And of course, if you ever want to know the full story, go see Dr. Hyde, because I'm not giving this justice by any means. But the Lone Star of Texas started in our area, all because of these people that revolted and later on left and went to Texas. But it all started right here, so it's very cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that so much, just learning about the history of this area. It was fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I think what's cool about this is that, and I've done some kind of little committees and groups like this, but what I thought was cool, and I don't maybe it's intentional the way they planned it, but the first 2 months were sort of business-like, kind of, and then so we're like, okay, what's next? And then you kind of come in and like, okay, we're gonna do something fun. It's sort of like you see the Saints do on preseason. They'll come in, they're all hard working, and then Sean Payton will take them and go bowling, or whatever. And this was kind of one of those days where you come in like, okay, what's next? Kind of in a business mindset, and it's like it's fun. You get to go see. We went to the Renaissance Festival that has been growing substantially the last few years. Covey Rise, for me, like I said, I've heard about it. I've never been out there. That is amazing. Like, if you like the vegetables, and cleanliness is the wrong word, but like how neat everything was out there. Like I thought it was pretty neat myself. But I was I had never done an escape room deal, and so to do the escape room, to me, it was cool for us because there was no expectations. Kind of like, hey, you did it. Like, not that it cost money, but like I didn't feel cheated. Like, go in there, just have fun, just enjoy yourself, and like learn something new, and like that is neat. Like, they talked about Anthony Davis, who I know a lot of us don't care for Anthony Davis since he's left the Pelicans, but he came up there a few times, and like they're all coming to Tangipahoa Parish. And it's like, and we get to see that as part of this class. It's like, I thought it was very, very cool. So, and of course you can't forget finishing the day with a beer, Gnarly Barley. I mean, that's pretty neat myself. But.
Yeah, that's the thing of hidden treasures, and all of these that we visited were really cool, unique things that happened in our parish. And then when you go there, you realize these are really first class. The Renaissance Festival.
Oh.
It's really a great thing that happens, that the locals might not participate in. People come from all over the region to go to this festival, and it is wonderful. Covey Rise was amazing. Again, I'd never been there, didn't know anything about it, and when you get there, you think, wow, this is in my parish. This is really, really great. Of course, the escape rooms at Rise now, but Rise has had a haunted house for years, and people come from all over the region to go to it. Gnarly Barley is, establishing itself
I believe
as an
they're
independent
the
brewer.
fastest growing brewery in Louisiana.
Yeah, top 50 in the country.
Yeah.
Multiple years, and they've recently just expanded, just passed having more expansion.
Yeah. So, first class, unique things that are in our region. And I was very, very happy that I got to experience all those, got to go visit all those places.
Yeah, and it's things that you probably would do in an afternoon, like a Saturday, Sunday afternoon. And some of these things, like I went to the Renaissance Fest, my in-laws are from home, and they come up, but otherwise, I don't know that I'd say, hey, let's go hang out. Like, those are the kind of things, though, that you kind of tell your friends, like, hey, there's nothing going on. Like, go check that out. That's pretty neat. You don't realize it's there.
Right.
It's cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, you would drive right by the little sign on 190 that says Renaissance Festival, and not know that when you get there, it opens up into 100 acres of property and buildings and people in costumes and activities.
Yeah, and it's not like when you say Renaissance Fest, and when you say first class, it really is. It's not just somebody setting up a tent. Like, they've got established businesses, the wrong wording, that they sell their goods, but they did the wrought iron, the glass blowing, I mean, and these are established physical buildings that are out there. Like, and it's when they're done the festival, the buildings are still there throughout the years. Like I said, it's not like somebody throwing up a tent. Like it's a real deal.
Then we talked to some of the vendors or the performers that were there, and then there was a guy that's a world-class glass blower, and and he said, "This is my favorite festival that I come to. I'll never miss this one because of the people who are here that
Correct.
make it special."
Hammond, Louisiana, and Tangipahoa Parish.
Well, and not only is that a place just for the people around here to go enjoy, themselves at this festival, but it has an incredibly large economic impact on our area.
That's right.
People come from all over for this. And, aside from the vendors and the people that work the festival who basically come live here for, 6 to 8 weeks because it's a 6-week long festival. But, people come here and they're staying in hotels, they're going to restaurants, they're spending their money here, not just at that festival. They'll leave that festival and then they're coming to Hammond, they're going to Ponchatoula and, having dinner or whatever. It's just it is truly a great asset
And
to our community.
people don't just go to the Renaissance Festival for one day.
Yeah.
The people who come, they go multiple days.
Oh yeah, there's people that will go to that thing every single weekend during the time.
What I
it's
loved
open.
about this is, and a lot of people don't realize too, the Leadership Tangipahoa class is sponsored by the Tangipahoa Parish Tourism Commission. But my big thing when I look at from a leadership and a citizen of the parish that I like to see is these tourism dollars that come in. We talk about the expansion of the parish and residents and the impact on thoroughfares and our roadways and everything. Tourism dollars is one of the best things for our parish. Not only is it exposure, but that's how we grow. A lot of our things that we have here are funded by tax dollars. But when you have somebody come in, spend their money, they go to these restaurants, they do all that, they don't put a lot of impact on our roads, and they turn around and leave and go home. And we get the benefit of putting that money back into us as citizens to be able to use on our roadways and our ditches and making these expansions. And 20 years ago, a lot of these things on this list, we're going to get in the recreation stuff and some of these things, these weren't here.
That's right.
So when we talk about this expansion of tourism and the impact of the Tangi Tourism Commission and everything else that goes on in our area, these are the things that we're starting to grow more, and that's what really makes our parish great. Robbie Miller's thing is Tangipahoa Parish move here, but I mean, a lot of these tourism dollars, we like to have people come in, and a lot of them will stay, but to come in and spend their money, and then they go home, and we get the impact of it. It's pretty cool.
All right, so our next month, we visited some different social services organizations. We visited Council on Aging, Options, Our Daily Bread, Child Advocacy Center, and the Hammond After School Program. And this was the day that just made me absolutely proud of our community. So what were your thoughts on this day?
Well, just to put in context too about this day, that we usually do this around the Christmas time, so you're kind of in that mindset. But these are year-round organizations. When you look at Council on Aging, they're focused on our older citizens in our parish, but they go around. Not only do they deliver food, but they'll go pick them up. In fact, the buses that we rode around daily, they volunteer for us to use as leadership Tangipahoa class. But they'll take them, they come play games, they'll learn something new, maybe do some art stuff. A lot of these older citizens, they may not have anybody else. Their family may live out. And so the impact that has for these citizens,
Quality of life.
it's amazing. We had the exercise equipment. Previous classes have donated, and other businesses in the parish have donated for their computer room.
Right.
To get out and see stuff, it's a big deal, really.
I was very impressed with all of the agencies that we visited. Not only did they have good programs and good facilities, they were larger and more extensive than I had ever imagined.
Correct.
And I felt that the people who worked there were so passionate and caring and driven.
That's right.
With what they did. Extremely impressive. Options, you go out and talk to the people at Options and see what Options does. And you talk to people who live in other parishes, and they say, well, we don't have anything like that. The extensive operation that Our Daily Bread runs, amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. I didn't know that Our Daily Bread, they cook and feed lunch 2 days a week. to anybody who wants to walk in the door. You don't have to qualify. You just show up and you eat. The food was very, very good. And when you got there, the people who were working, you could tell that they really felt great about their job and about what they were doing. Um,
And just to put context on it again, like this wasn't ham sandwiches and an apple. Like
No.
no,
this was
it
a
great meal.
nice meal, and they gave them fruit and things to take home with them. But like this was a sit down. I don't remember what we had that day, but it's like roast, mashed potatoes and gravy, vegetables, drink. Like this isn't like I said a ham sandwich.
Yeah, so my team has gone and served during some of those days and helped feed the people that are there. And the big thing with our daily bread is people have got this perception that the hungry people are the ones that you see on the corner, the homeless people, but they don't realize that often this is your elderly neighbor next door, the person that's been living next to you for years, and you don't realize that person is getting one meal a day and that they're hungry. Or it could be the young couple that have just fallen on hard times, and our daily bread is taking care of those people, and they treat them with dignity, and they go so far to treat them with dignity as to look for ways that they can make people not feel so much like they're getting a handout. For example, one of the things that they had just implemented when we visited them was it used to be that if you would go to our daily bread and say, I need some food, they would give you a box of food. Well, they realized a couple of things about that. For one, it felt like a handout to people, but also whatever was in that box is what they got. So there may have been food being wasted because if they didn't like something that was there, it wasn't going to get used.
Right.
So instead, they basically set up a mock grocery store inside, and they allow people to come in now and go shopping. So instead of it feeling like a handout, they feel like they're just going to the grocery store and they're shopping, and they're only taking the things that they're actually going to use. I love our daily bread. I love what they do in this community. All of these were amazing organizations. But you already talked about it some, the Hammond After School program. Our mayor's got such a passion for that. And it's interesting when you get to listen to all of the people that we heard from over the course of a year talk. And when they talk about the business of things, it's one thing to go listen to Mayor Pinapinto talk about the business of the city. But when you got to hear him talking about what they were doing with these kids and investing in these kids' lives and all that, like there's a whole different level of passion there. I was super impressed with that entire thing.
Yeah, when you look at it, and what people don't understand about this program, I explained to somebody, it's like Eddie said, it's like the buses will take them, drop them off, they get tutored, they get a snack, there is some fun, get off the street aspect to it. But this isn't just a babysitting thing. Like they were broken down, okay, this certain age group, and they were working on their math that day, or this one had an English project, and like there is a business side to it, but like for what is involved there, for what some don't have to pay or pay very little, like this is a top notch. Like it's like them going to school. Like I said, it's not, and don't get me wrong, it's not like a junior high student come over and help, being a tutor, but like these are teachers that come after they leave their regular day job and investing on these kids. So I mean, when you see things like that, like it's involved. Like when you look at CASA, we went to CASA. One thing people forget, and Rob Carlisle, who's the CEO of CASA, is going to kill me, but I can't remember how many parishes, if it's 9 or 12 or 14. But the hub of CASA for the Southeast region is Hammond,
Right.
Louisiana.
I think we were the first one.
Yeah. So I mean, CASA is so important. A lot of people don't realize what it is. I mean, it's an advocacy program for young children that a lot of times is dealing with, rape or abuse and those type things. And they work closely with the courts, but also with the law enforcement. And they've set up a safe zone. I hate to use that word, but that's really what it is for these kids to come out and have an honest discussion of, hey, this is what happened, this is what's going on. And they're the first point of contact with those children. And that all started here and is now spread to, like I said, whatever it is, 10, 12, 14 parishes, areas, and it all started right here.
So from there, we went on to our healthcare month. And when we, during that day, we visited North Oaks Health System, Cypress Point Surgical Hospital, Oak Park Village, and Lolly Kemp.
So my biggest thing that I took away from that, when you look at it from the top to bottom, like, and what the way they break this day down for us is, you have your regular, I say regular, but a public hospital. Then Cypress Point's more of your private. The Oak Park Village is a assisted living home, and then Lolly Kemp is your public, what they used to call charity hospitals.
Right.
But they're all interlocked, really, throughout the parish. But the way we have a weird dichotomy of the parish of, we're a fairly poor parish, and I think it's something like 80% of the parish is in the Medicare, low income assisted healthcare area, and how all of these three kind of work together, the hospital wise. But there really is top notch care here in the parish. A lot of people don't talk. I think they went back and forth, but North Oaks, and somebody said it the other day, is the number 2 or number 3 trauma hospital in the state, like volume. And it's because of our I-12, I-55 corridor, but that all comes right here through our parish. Like, a lot of people don't realize that,
Well, when we grew up, North Oaks just had a terrible reputation.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not the same North Oaks that it used to be.
That's correct.
That was one of the things that really stood out to me, was just how amazing of a hospital they are.
That's right.
I mean, they are on the leading edge of technology. The leadership there, you can tell that they're just on a different level. I was super impressed with North Oaks, and actually during that time, I had just been through probably about a 3-year stint of my dad being just in and out of the place, and always received such good health care. Same thing with Cypress Point. He was there, and they always just treated him so well. But the healthcare is one of the big economic drivers in our parish. It's one of the biggest provider of jobs, and we're just good at it in Tangipahoa.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And what a lot of people don't realize too, like, I was going to save this to the end, but it comes up now. One thing, when at our leadership Tangipahoa graduation, I brought it up, that one thing Eddie's always said, at the end of the day, we have these little kind of huddles, and Eddie brought it up one time and said he always asked these questions like, tell us what you do, where you from, and it made me realize these are, when I say this, kind of sounds funny, but they're real people, and these people care. Like, they're not just doing a job. And that goes from everything of this whole leadership Tangipahoa deal. These are people, and they really, truly care and have a heart. Michelle Sutton, when you talk about North Oaks, Michelle Sutton said, I want to know every single quote-unquote issue that may come up. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to go past anybody else. I want to solve it. Mm-hmm. And it's nobody brushed it under the rug. And you felt that at each one of these facilities. Mm-hmm. And like I said, throughout the parish, but especially through these facilities.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have some contact with North Oaks Health System through my work, and they grow leaders from within, people who are invested in North Oaks, not just doing this and then leaving and going somewhere else. And so I know North Oaks has tackled their issues and has sought to grow and become a high quality place. Also, because of our high percentage of Medicare patients that North Oaks gathers, it's not a rich hospital, and they have to squeeze every penny. We hadn't talked about Lolly Kemp. Went out to Lolly Kemp. Talk about a place that's doing a lot with a little.
Yeah.
The last state-funded hospital in the state that's still around, last quote-unquote charity hospital that's still in the state. I didn't realize that.
But they have, they're very underfunded. But when you look at the programs that they offer, and they say this is what you can do with very little bit of money. If you don't have very much money, you can come here and you can get some health care. Their facility, you can tell it's old. It's not a brand new building, but people who care, and I felt like, wow, maybe I need to come over here to Lolly Kemp and get some health care, because the things that they offer are great and varied, but I just felt like they're doing so much with so little money. I was very, very impressed with what was happening over there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so our next month was the education month. We started off our day at Courtney Christian School. Then we went over to Tangipahoa Parish School System. Mm-hmm. Then Hammond High Magnet School, where we visited ProStart. then to North Shore Technical Community College, and then to Southeastern Louisiana University.
This day is like my kind of close to my heart. I know Eddie's in education, but my background's not in education. But when those who don't know, Tangipahoa Parish has a odd background, especially recently with some things going on with the school system and changes that we have in our system, and just on the state level, like funding issues and different things. But when you really get down and look at it, like I've got a 4-year-old son that's literally going to be in pre-K this year with Tangipahoa Parish School System. When you look at what we have here and what's involved, it's not just going to school, guys. I mean, it's not put your kid on the bus. Like it's a lot. Like when you go to Courtney Christian School, it's one of the new private schools here for those who don't know, kind of, I think it's been 4 or 5 years local, and they started like from nothing. Like that was just, Miss Sue's dream, just that kind of rose from the ashes. And when you talk about people caring, when you walk through a hallway, the students cared, the parents cared, the teachers cared, everybody cared, and you felt it when you walked in the door. But you get that across the board. The one thing, too, when we talk about the people in this Leadership Tangipahoa Committee, the other thread that went throughout this whole thing is education and how everything was connected through education.
Yeah, and every place that we talked to, every week that we talk about growth in our parish and how do we drive economic growth, how do we attract people, how do we attract business, and they all talked about public school system here in Tangipahoa Parish, that we have to become better, we have to be recognized as quality, and that thing impacts everything. Education. The school
correct.
system impacts everything that we visited.
Those CEOs want to know what resource, like we have a ton of resources here. They want to know what can their kids and what can their employees' kids, what do they have, what do we have to offer? And I mean, I just hit my 20-year class reunion this past year. What's in those schools now is not what I had 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that Pro Start program?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's probably the best meal. And we all said it. That's probably the best meal we had.
That was, I don't know that you could have bought a meal like that in some of the finest restaurants in New Orleans.
That's right. That's right.
That was an amazing meal, and I enjoyed the way that the kids presented it to us. It was just, you talk about a top-notch program.
Yeah.
I mean, all around.
Award-winning culinary arts program at the high school level, right there in Hannity High. We didn't get to visit very long, but the robotics program.
Incredible.
They have a long history of robotics there. They're building their robot to go and
Correct.
compete. The students knew what they were doing. They were taking leadership. Again, charismatic faculty who really cared about
That's
the projects.
Well, to back up a little bit, we got to go to the school board, and we
Right.
met with Melissa Stilley and some of the administrative team, Dr. Hurst, Mr. Jinko, assistant superintendents. And when they presented, like I said, what we have now compared to what I had 20 years ago, like they offer, there's a whole new mindset of these opportunities for kids to have that's not traditional, quote unquote, college.
Right.
And when I say the list is extensive, like it's not just welding and plumbing, electrical, it's healthcare related, it's safety related with the plants. The Pro Start we're talking about, like I said, the culinary side of it,
Yep.
the robotics, all that is legit programs that students decide to do, and they have to be certified in to graduate. It's a true program. And like I said, the list is probably, I don't know, 50 or something things. And like to see the superintendent and that administration to be excited about it and the opportunities they have. And they gave us a first-class one-to-one. We sat down, asked any question we wanted. And, it was like, that's when we talk about this program. That's the opportunities you get in this program to
Yep.
be able to do part of it that you don't get
The
otherwise.
people who took time out of their day to meet with us was extremely impressive. At the Tangipahoa Parish School System, I can't remember his name, but he's the finance guy, and
Mr. Snotterbach.
he brought his spreadsheets up, put them up on the screen. Let's talk about some of these lines on the spreadsheets. Let me show you how much money we have. Let me show you where the money goes. Let me show you what our financial challenges are.
That's another organization.
If you want to ask some questions, ask them.
Yeah, that's another organization that's doing a whole lot with not
That's right.
much.
How about, you walk away I walked away as an administrator, and I thought, whatever job you have, how big of a production a school system is. The numbers of people you employ, all the equipment you have, all the students, all the buses.
I think it's 2,800 employees. I think it's like 18,000 students.
And how many students are going to show up every day that you are going to have to, deliver to your clients?
And when you talk about people caring, you talk about school buses. Like they talked about, like the school bus staff. They've been short. You talk about these struggles that we had. They've been short on bus drivers. The staff left their desks and went and drove the bus because they didn't have enough people to do it. So I mean, it's like that's caring. Like let's get the job done. And to tie it into kind of the North Shore Technical College, community college, that's for those that don't know, it's within. You could throw a football and hit it from Hammond High almost. Their partnership with the parish on this secondary trade type learning that goes on with our high school, it's top notch, and people, what do they say, that we're not a technical college.
Yeah,
We're
not the
college.
VOTEC.
Yeah, we're not VOTEC.
Right.
They have opportunities there, like I said, that a lot of people don't realize, that we always were in the mindset of let's go to college, let's go to college, let's go to college. And Brian, you're a perfect example of like how successful people can be and not do a traditional college path.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're teaching people how to be automotive technicians, machinists, welders, HVAC, and the interesting thing to me is that across the board, those four that I just named, if you average it out, their salaries compared to the salaries of the kids that are getting 4-year degrees, the ones from the technical school, sorry for calling them a technical school, are going to out-earn them.
That's right.
They are. And in the area that we live in, there's such a need for skilled trades. And it's become this way of thinking for our society now that, well, it has for years, and it's finally starting to turn a little bit, but it was always get that 4-year degree, got to go to college, got to go to college. And look, nothing against college. It's like I've had the discussion with my son before when he's told me that he doesn't really think he wants to go to college. And it's like, well, figure out what it is that you want to do first. Mm-hmm. And if what you want to do requires college, then by all means go to college.
Yep.
But if it doesn't, then don't. And there is an alternative, and NTCC is just a great example of that alternative. They've also got nursing. They have some
pharmacy tech programs,
Yeah.
A bunch of healthcare things.
computer,
Yeah.
where you can get all your Microsoft certifications.
Well, you talk about like the automotive side, like they were talking about how they have partnership with local dealerships, Toyota, and these different ones are like pretty much like send them,
Yeah.
like we'll take
They
anybody
can't
you
produce
got.
them quick enough.
That's
Right,
right.
right.
And a lot of people don't realize too, when you talk about TOPS has been the big deal of funding for college students in Louisiana. They now have that, I forgot the term for it, but they now have the technical trade side of
Yeah.
TOPS that can fund your after.
I think it's Tops Tech.
Tops Tech.
That's right. That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
One of the people that were in our class works at North Oaks, and he commented positively about how the technical college system can respond to workforce demands very quickly. And 4-year institutions, tend to be giant buses that are hard to turn, but as a workforce demand occurs, the community college system is very quick to respond and develop those programs. And an example was the pharmacy tech program. Used to have a small one. The workforce demand increased, and so they have multiple pharmacy tech programs, both at the NTCC site out by the airport, but also their other satellite sites.
The other cool thing, like we don't want to dismiss this because Southeastern is so massive and so important to our area, but one of the cool things that I saw when you talk about these different groups, they're quote unquote competing in a sense, but you don't realize how much they work together. Mm-hmm. And I just read the article again, but like there's a partnership with North Shore Technical College and Southeastern of these. I hate to use this term, but they used to call them remedial students, the ones that they still had
developmental classes.
Correct. They had to get a couple more of these classes. That they have a program that you can go to the NTCC, get your classes, but you're still on the Southeastern campus, and you transition over and you graduate from Southeastern. And then they have the same partnership with the nursing school, and that those that want to do that, they now have another outlet as opposed to
LPN to RN program.
correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, it's we've had a need for a community college presence on the North Shore, and for a while Delgado Community College had a North Shore campus, but I think after Katrina they closed it. I'm very, very glad to see NTCC expand the kinds of things that they offer because we need that for us to to expand and to grow and to make our region better, we need a community college system.
Well, just like Southeastern and NTCC, they both have satellite offices or satellite campuses that we don't realize in Bogalusa, Livingston Parish, that
Right.
the hubs are here in Tangipahoa Parish, but they branch out,
Yep.
and they're all connected.
Yeah. Before we leave this, of course, I work at Southeastern. I don't think we can undersell the impact of Southeastern on our region.
That's right.
$1.8 billion economic impact, I recently heard.
Man.
We're the third largest school in Louisiana. We're the fastest growing parishes are those between us and New Orleans and us and Baton Rouge. We draw in more and more of those students. I've been very fortunate to work at Southeastern over 20 years. We've had very, very stable management. It's a great place to work. And while we have expanded in quantity of students, we've grown. We're 14, 15,000 students. Our class sizes are still small. We do a lot of face-to-face advising. We have a lot of students that start elsewhere and come to Southeastern and finish the degree. And so it is a great place that employs a lot of people. It brings people to our region, and it is a great feature that makes Hammond and Tangipahoa Parish a destination.
Well, when we talk about the leadership Tangipahoa class and the exposure you get to these, like, we're sat down face to face with Dr. Crane, who's the highest person they got at Southeastern. And again, he's frank, and he'll tell you this is the things we need to work on. This is the things we're excelling at. They've done a wonderful job when you look at the cuts on higher education, on how well Southeastern can still bring in students. They haven't done a whole lot with tuition, and they've done a lot on expansion. Like, they're able to still build buildings. They're still building new living facilities. They talk about the thermal radiant heat additions that they did on the new residence halls that nobody else in the state has. And they're thriving in this atmosphere of low funding on higher education.
It's Dr. Crane's background. He's an accountant, and so that was what he did. His degree was in accounting. He taught accounting, and so during a decade of budget cuts, there was no one better to manage our university than someone who understands the finances of this. You think about somebody with my background or background in chemistry or something like that that's running a university. Doesn't understand really how to squeeze those dollars, understand the money coming in and the nature of finance. Dr. Crane we were very, very fortunate that he was in our presidency during this period of time.
Well, I asked him this, and this was a profound, when you talk about the whole thing and the whole entire leadership class term, one of the most profound questions that I asked that I got an answer from was, I asked him, I said, there's a fine line of you saying to the state, saying, hey, we need more funding, and then there's a fine line of them coming back and saying, hey, y'all are doing great with what we're giving you crumbs, and y'all are just excelling. And I told him, I said, how do you balance that line? He said, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. And that's what he's saying. He's basically saying, we need more, and if you give us more, look at what we can do with it. And like I said, to be able to ask the president of the university that, how often you can do that? You know what I'm saying? And him give a frank answer. He said, I know exactly what you're talking about. He just said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to keep doing our best, and we're going to keep rocking it.
There's a leadership program like ours that's at the state level for educators, and they visit different universities. Different universities host them, and so talking to the person when they first started this program, she said, I'm so happy that the first place that we're going to go that's going to host us is at Hammond, because I know that Dr. Crane is going to have everything lined up, and it's going to set the stage for us to be successful.
That's awesome.
So it makes you proud.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you proud
Absolutely.
that people around our state look at Southeastern and say they're doing the right thing.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, let's move on to the following month, which was criminal justice. And we had the opportunity to visit Judge Blair Edwards and our district attorney, Scott Perilou, Sheriff Daniel Edwards, the Florida Parish's Juvenile Detention Center, Tangipahoa Parish Jail, and the Amite Fire Department. And Eddie was not there for this week, and I missed the first half of the day. So, Mark, why don't you tell us about when you got to visit with Judge Edwards and Scott Perilou and our sheriff?
When we talk about access again to some of these people, again, they sat down and talked to us and again answered, any question we had. But what a lot of people don't realize when we had that day, it was very sobering. So those who don't know, Judge Edwards, she handles the juvenile sector of our parish, and the sobering reminder of the drug crisis in our parish and statewide, nationwide, worldwide, and the effect it has on young people. She sat down as a parent, as a citizen, and as a judge and explained everything to us. And it's a side that you don't see. And again, we talked about everybody talks about their politicians. These are, again, they're people. They have a heart. I truly felt as a citizen, they're doing it with the best intentions of everybody involved. And again, she answered any question we had. And Scott Perley was our DA. Now, granted, those who don't know, again, Scott's over a tri-parish area, so he's dealing with more than just Tangipahoa Parish. But he went in again. He couldn't get in some cases, but there's some high-profile cases, and he was like, "This is what I had to think about. These are things I had to put in mind." We have a lot of partners that are connected to our judicial system and what they do and how they help us. Those are the kind of things those are the questions they had and the information they passed on us that a lot of people just don't realize. Sheriff Daniel Edwards, again, took us to his facility there on Club Deluxe Road in Hammond. Again, tells just going through the steps of how they're spending the money, the impact they're having. Again, there's always challenges that we have as a parish in dealing with crime and drugs and everything that goes with theft and everything that goes with it, and how they're trying to do what they can to make an impact and make a dent on it. Again, he was very honest, forefront. We laughed throughout the year. Our class we asked a lot of questions, and they kind of joked about it. And he even said that. He said, "I'm impressed with the questions y'all are asking." He said, "I'm happy to answer the questions I ask." He, again, kind of tied everything together, talked about the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center and some of the things. And one of the things that he was very proud of is the new Angel program they're having, where somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I have a drug problem. I have an issue." They take them and get them help. It's not let's slap the cups on them. It's like, what can we do to make a change? So they showed us the K9 program. They brought the dogs out. There's more to these sides than what we see in the paper in the crime section. So them putting their thought and their hearts into it, there really is more to it. So it was good to see that side of these people,
Now, I made it just in time for when y'all were getting to the Florida Parish's Juvenile Detention Center. It's kind of it's a sad thing to see, but at the same time, it's very good to see because I do truly feel like they're changing lives out there. They're taking kids that they got started on the wrong foot, and they're helping them to change their lives. And as we met some of the kids that were out there, you could tell. I mean, these are good kids, and they just got into the wrong thing.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
I just thought what a lot of people don't realize too is, like I said, a lot of these kids, it's what you're saying. It's just they got into it. They're not repeat offenders. A lot of them. They're just, hey, I did something wrong. They need guidance. A lot of them. And what a lot of people don't realize too, like I said, when you look at this, it's not a hard jail like you see. It's not this real harsh environment. There's a caring environment to it. We were there and we walked through a couple of different areas, and they were sitting down going over schoolwork, and they were going over the programs they have was like, how can you learn something new? They had a reward program. Hey, did they keep their bunk clean? Did they do their chores that day? That it wasn't so much as a punishment, it was more of a reward side and a teaching and guiding environment, and less of a punishment environment.
How many kids do they have out there?
It was just under 80, I believe, wasn't it?
I'd be lying if I told you.
I think they had capacity for about 135, and they were in the upper 70s.
And the age range is?
So at that time, it was up until 17.
Yeah.
But now, didn't they just make a change to
They're
where it's
making
up to
changes
21?
And I don't remember the dynamics of it, but there was a change going on how it was, who was going out there. But and again, like I said, the tie-ins to where like, hey, when they come out, we're going to have them prepared for things and less of like throwing them to the streets. One thing that I thought was very cool, and it kind of jumped back on the Tangipahoa Parish School Board side, Sandra Bay Simmons, who is a current school board member, has been going out there for 20 years every Sunday. No, not asking for anything, and just kind of sitting with the kids, talking to the kids, learning. Like, that's the kind of things that people don't see. You know, like, there's people out there that, like I said, they care, and these kids are going to come out and come back to us in our community. So we got to see what we can do to make a change, you know.
And then from there, we went to the Tangipahoa Parish Jail. That was a scary place.
Yeah, I'd been there once in junior high 15, 20 years before that. Well, I guess 25 years before that. And that's the punishment side. There is some corrective, things that they try to do, but it's scary. I mean, it's hard to even put into words because, like I said, it's the jail. I mean, there's not much to it, but it's just a reminder of what we have here. There's been some funding issues, I understand, locally, and it's good to see where your tax dollars are going. But like Brian said, it is kind of scary.
A lot of the ladies that went in there were that they would tell you quickly, like that was the worst thing that they saw, throughout the entire program, and that they couldn't wait to get out of there. I'm a guy that, is probably as big or bigger than, most of the guys that are in there, and I was ready to leave. That was not a pleasant experience. I honestly think that it's something that they should take every high school student through.
That's right.
Before they graduate.
That's what many of the our classmates, when you talk to them about it. So what did you learn? And they said, I learned I do not want to go to jail.
Correct. One thing that's not on there when you talk about it was you wanted to get out of there, but where we went directly after that, and I forgot it's not on this list, is we went after that to the 911 center.
Oh yeah.
That I forgot about. That's very cool. Like there's things to that I didn't realize, like how involved it is, what opportunities they have. They talk about the new 911 app that I thought was very cool, and I apologize to them because I can't remember the exact name of the app right now, but it gives them an opportunity where like when you call in, you can put all your information in this app, and they know exactly where to go. You could even, if it's an elderly person, they have a keypad on the front door to unlock it. You could put that in the app, and they have
I believe
that.
It's just called Smart 911.
That's it.
Yep.
And it gives the first responders the opportunity, like I said, they can key in, they can get in the door. It tells them if you have pets there. It tells them how many kids are there. You can put your kids' photos on it. So if you have, your kid gets out and he's down the street and it's a lost kid situation, they can pull it up in a matter of minutes versus probably 90 minutes to disseminate the information out to all available parties. I thought that was very cool. Like I said, the technology that goes to that, it was neat. I thought it was very cool.
And then we finished up the day at the Amite Fire Department, and that was a really cool experience as well. They had all the equipment out for us to see. We got to hear about their response times, and the Amite Fire Department is a very well equipped department.
That's right.
I'm sure that every single fire department takes extreme pride in what they do.
That's right.
But this fire department, when you look around at how they've fought to get the equipment that they have, and just the area that they take care of, and some of the scenes that they've been on, there's a lot of pictures and such up in the fire station. I mean, it impressed me.
Mm-hmm. What a lot of people realize when you look at the equipment, you talk about, like, I've got a little background of seeing some of the equipment being I came from the plant side, but like they have a 4-wheeler, they have boats, because their aspect of their geographic area they have to reach, that sometimes they're going back in the woods and have to get in the water and that kind of thing. But when you talk about the human aspect of them, they'd said a couple times, like, if there's somebody broke down on the road and they know about it, they're going to stop and change their tire for them. And
they made it clear we're civil servants.
Correct.
If we can help you,
Yep.
call us.
Yep. And that's one of those things when, like I said, when you want to learn about the servant and them using their money well, they spend it in the right places. But like I said, they care. They really do care, and it was very cool to see.
All right, so from there we went to what was my second favorite day, the Economic Development Day.
Agreed.
And Economic Development Day, we visited Chapapilla Sports Park, where we heard from the leadership at Chapapilla, but also the Tangipahoa Economic Development Foundation was there and spoke to us. Then we went and met with Ed Hoover, who gave us a very entertaining story about the start of Tangipahoa. Then to Graham Packaging, Elmer's Candy Company. We heard from G&O Inc. We then visited, we visited Interlocks, and we ended our day at Bracey's Nursery.
That's right. That's right. What'd you think, Eddie?
You know, I was very interested in going to Elmer's Candy Company just because it's not something that you ever get to see with the inside of it.
Yeah.
I'm seriously getting hungry right now thinking about all of the candy that they gave us.
And yeah, it's staggering enterprise, the amount of candy they produce. It's like 6 of the top 10 sellers at Valentine's Day are produced right there in Ponchatoula, Louisiana.
That's correct.
And so that was fun and interesting. All of those were very interesting places that, again, you probably didn't understand or recognize how much these industries are here and are growing.
And impactful.
Right. I had never heard of Bracey's Nursery. And then when we went out there, 240 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now if I go to to buy a plant, you go to a nursery somewhere, a nursery that you and I can walk in and buy. I look at the tag on the plant to see if it's from Bracey's, and
More times than not.
And
Yeah,
it is.
correct.
And I ask them, do you get a lot of stuff from Bracey's? Oh yeah, like 3/4 of the plants that we have here is from Bracey's. When we drove around in the buses, we stopped and went into a couple of the greenhouses, and I asked Mr. Bracey, how much square footage do you have under greenhouse? And he said 10 acres. That we have 10 acres of plants under greenhouse growing 24/7 year round. It's just amazing how huge that was.
And everything out there is so meticulous.
Yeah.
You stand on the end of a row and you look at those plants, and they are perfectly lined up.
They're like a quilt.
They have the automated watering systems. The entire place is just beautiful, and it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. What's strange to me, there's so much information that just thinking about this day that's running through my head. So the Chapapilla side, when we talk about the tourism side, that I guess I didn't realize the backstory on this. What a lot of people don't realize, the Chapapilla, where it came from, they set up a committee, I think in the early 90s, to say they wanted a convention center for this area. And they said, we're going to call this committee and we're going to hire this outside consultant. Hey, what's the best way we can do for our area? What's the best thing with this convention? And they basically came back and said, y'all are set up for sports.
Right.
Y'all are set up. So Chapapilla, for those who don't know, it's a recreation district paid for through property tax, and it's its own entity. And the things that they do out there, it's it's just amazing. The impact that they come in, they spend their money, they leave, and they go out.
But they also run their own sports league, so that it impacts local community. And so you can go out there and play Little League baseball and flag football.
Adult stuff.
And adults. And so there's all these sports leagues that impact the local community. And then on the weekend, it is a world-class, travel ball site. And I can't tell you the number of people who I talk to that are from Baton Rouge and New Orleans that come over here with their kids to play ball.
That's right.
I mean, they have so many people who are here.
Well,
on the
and that's what I'm
weekends.
saying. They come in and they spend time, they spend the money, and then they leave. And like I said, it's impactful on us as a parish. And a lot of these people, like I said, they come in and they see things that, we talk about some of these hidden treasures. They come and see those things, and they come back later and do those hidden treasure stuff.
Right.
So I think it's pretty cool. And so the impact, like I said, around that area with Chapapilla is with Mr. Ed Hoover and his company, there's new stuff going on. Like he's throwing warehouses up like they're going out of style because of our crossroads of the North Shore.
That's right.
Logistical standpoint that we have Wayfair, we have Folgers Coffee, a lot of stuff, and it all comes out of our area, and it all goes back to the airport and everything that ties in with it. and the money that is being invested here, that we're starting to reap the rewards from these things years ago. He's one of the forefront. I mean, there's more people, not to throw the other one, dismiss those, but the stuff that's going on there, like I said, that there's a lot of economic impact, and it's not flashy stuff. These are warehouses.
No, but this week was almost like hidden treasures. All these were hidden treasures.
You didn't realize, yeah.
Right. You didn't realize how big this was. And yeah, Ed Hoover, we met Ed Hoover at a warehouse that is multi-story, floor to ceiling of coffee cans.
Yeah, those gram packaging.
Empty coffee cans.
Yep.
And that we're going to take all these coffee cans and we're going to get them over to a
That
place.
are also done in Hammond.
Right.
Down the street of Hammond,
That's
made
right.
in Hammond.
Create them, store them here, get them over to the Folgers facility in New Orleans. Going to fill them up with coffee. That again, you drive by these buildings, you're not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've heard for years about the crossroads of 10 and 12, and our location.
12 and 55.
12 and 55.
Yeah.
Sorry, 12 and 55. That is the crossroads that is going to make us a hub for logistics. We've heard about it for 20 years, and it's happening now.
That's right. And when you look at, same thing with Elmer's, and like I said, they're just nondescript buildings, and the volume, like you're saying, the top 6 out of 10 gross selling in the nation. It may even be in the world, but at least in the nation, come out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana. I'm Ponchatoula boys. I mean, it's cool to see, but the other thing, like I said, when I saw the Interlock side,
Yeah.
So I have family and friends that work out at Interlocks, and those that don't know, Interlocks makes moldable plastics is their main thing that they do, especially in Hammond. That they essentially, a lot of their stuff goes in and makes
Conveyor systems.
belts. Yeah.
Right.
That we see when we see these Amazons and these other facilities, the belts themselves are made at Interlocks and Hammond, and the volume again that is coming out of Hammond, and it all came back from Katrina and those kind of deals like, hey, we got to get high and dry. We got to get to these, where's these hubs, and they're expanding exponentially in Hammond. They just did the new warehouse, and it's, well, I think it was like 16 stories, but it's, I don't know, probably maybe 50 feet wide, but whatever it was, 3 football fields long, and it's all automated.
Right.
Well, and that's one of the big things. When you look at 2 of the companies on this list, you got Interlocks and you've got Elmer's Candy Company. Now, these are both manufacturers, but they're not just manufacturers. They're high-tech manufacturers.
That's right.
And we've kind of become known in this area for warehousing. And it's because we're sitting here at the crossroads of the South. Like you said, Ed Hoover's popping up 100,000, 150,000 square foot warehouses before they even have a tenant.
That's right.
Because they know that this area is prime for it and they're going to get that tenant. But the high-tech manufacturing side of things is something that is going to explode in this area. Our parish president is big on high-tech manufacturing. He wants to see more high-tech manufacturers come into this area. These companies, when we walked into Elmer's, the automation that is there, they said that they were, if not the first, they were the most high-tech food manufacturing company
Rolls-Royce
in the United States. And then when you look at things like the Hammond High robotics team, where they're training these kids for essentially what could be high-tech manufacturing jobs. And then you've got North Shore Tech, Southeastern Louisiana University with their computer science department, their like logistics programs. All of
Supply
these
chain
things,
management.
Yeah, supply chain management.
Right.
All of these things are making this area just prime for high-tech manufacturing. One of the most obvious things that I never even thought of when we were in Interlocks is that big warehouse that you were mentioning, they don't even turn the lights on in it.
That's right.
Robots don't need lights. And also the fact that they're rotating the merchandise that they're creating, not that moldable plastics really need to be rotated, but when humans start stacking stuff onto pallet racks, they don't pay attention to first in, first out. But that robot just knows.
Yep.
And nobody has to tell it to do it. It just does it.
Well, here's the odd side. When you talk about the automation, that the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is you're taking jobs out of the community. And what Elmer said to us, when growing up, I always thought of Elmer's as this seasonal. And they are a seasonal business, but they were doing stuff in, Valentine's was coming up, and they're starting doing Valentine's in October. They have these things, and he said, I forgot the percentage, but it was a high percentage is they're full-time workers. And he said, this small box of chocolate, when they made it, whatever, 1960, they started making it, it was $1. Well, in 2019, 2018, still $1.
Right.
But they're still employing these people as high tech as it is. Same thing with interlocks. One of the interesting things in our class, one of the guys and I worked in a plant, and we have to go to river parishes. Tangipahoa Parish is never going to be that because we don't have a Mississippi River running through us. But we have to leave the parish to get some of these higher paying jobs sometimes. And this was in our backyard, essentially making comparable money. And that's the first thing I said to Robbie Miller when I met him. When we talked about him taking over as parish president. I said, Robbie, I want a job in Tangipahoa Parish. And Interlocks is one of these companies, and hopefully, like I said, it just keeps expanding. That a lot of people are leaving the parish for a job when we really have these opportunities in our back door, and we don't realize it. That's that hidden gem that a lot of people realize is there.
It is. It was. All of these places were magic.
That's right.
Interlocks was just fantastic. Spotless, beautiful manufacturing facility. Walked out of there.
And
Again,
that's what we're talking about.
Drive by it, not knowing what's going on in there, and then when you leave, you said that was amazing.
And that's what we were talking about too when the other guy in the class and I were talking, was that we have to go to these safety type issue plants where we're around all these chemicals when this is a manufacturing job, and it's just clean. It was quiet. Everything was indoor and air conditioned. And the crazy thing a lot of people don't realize too about that's out there is the space that they have to expand, and they're continuing to expand.
Yeah.
So it's still coming.
All right, so moving on to our last trip, and it was outside of Tangipahoa Parish. We went to the state capitol, and we got to sit in on some committee meetings. We got to meet Governor John Bell Edwards. We went over to the governor's mansion where we were spoken to by his chief of staff, Mark Cooper. We visited the House of Representatives while they were in session. And then we went over and visited Lieutenant Billy Nungesser. So what were your big takeaways?
I felt like I was a part of an important group.
That's right.
Here I am, Joe Schmo from, Tangipahoa Parish. We arrive in our bus, and the governor took time out of his day. The governor's wife took time out of her day. Billy Nungesser was so enthusiastic about meeting with us and talking to us.
We got
like
thank
Uncle
you
Biddy.
letters
Yeah.
for visiting.
That's right.
I was just very impressed with them taking time out of their day to spend time with us. I also walked away feeling like we are well represented in terms of the quantity of people who are working in Baton Rouge at the state capitol from Tangipahoa Parish.
And quality. The thing to put context on this too, this is in the middle of session. Like, this wasn't regular, whatever it was, Tuesday afternoon. This was in the middle of, they had committee meetings going on. This is full on vote, and like you're saying, it's like both our Steve Pugh and Nikki Muscarella sat down with us, and I'm not talking for 5 minutes. Hey, how y'all doing? Shook a hand, and they were gone. Like, they spent a
Give
good
us a
amount of the
tour,
day.
answer questions.
That's right. And on the floor of the House of Representatives, to stand at the podium, to go in the governor's office again, what was half an hour we sat there and talked to the governor? Where else you get to do that from a regular citizen standpoint? Hey, Mr. Governor, we want to come hang out with you today. And that's the opportunities that Leadership Tangipahoa gives you that you don't get from, like I said, regular Joe citizen. But to get to see those things, to me, I'm kind of like a history buff kind of deal. And to be able to be in those presence of not just the office of who it is, the physical office, but the office of the person. You may not agree with the politics, but to be able to, like I said, sit and chit chat with the governor, I can tell my grandkids that.
You know what, though, besides going and being at those places and meeting the people, I was very, very happy that one of the messages that I heard consistently was that given the political climate of our country, we have Democrats, we have Republicans, and one doesn't like another one, and it's all blocking, and you have this partisan politics that we are working across the aisles, you have votes where all the Republicans vote one way and Democrats vote the other way, and that we're in a period of time that we are much more in a collaborative model, and I felt very, very good about that. And
Yeah.
I heard that throughout the day.
Well, the
throughout
cool
the
part
day.
when you talk about the governor's mansion and chief of staff, I didn't really know who our chief of staff for the governor is, but a lot of people don't realize our governor's Democrat and he's a Republican.
Yep.
Like that to me, that was pretty neat. Like some people may not have caught that, but I thought it was pretty neat. You know,
Well, we're fortunate here in Tangipahoa in that our governor is from Tangipahoa, and he's a very conservative Democrat, and that was the biggest thing that stood out to me was this blurring between the party lines. And multiple people talked about how when they were in session, a few years ago, just how rough it was. I mean, they were at each other's throats. Everybody was just fighting to get theirs, and they said it is a completely different atmosphere this time around. And that's speed of the leader, speed of the team.
yeah. Well, even Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser said it when we talked to him. He said, he was talking about how his office is funded, and he said, he wants it where it's not either you connect the two offices, the Lieutenant Governor and the governor, and sort of run it like a president, vice president, or make them separate so there's not any conflict. Like that's what he said. He wants the office to succeed, and he wants the state to succeed. And again, we talk about access. Like everybody was frank and open, and it wasn't political. It was like you were sitting down having lunch with these people, and in fact we sat down and had lunch with them. But I mean, they just openly told you how we felt about it. That I agree with this, I don't agree with this, it's what I see going forward. And to me that was awesome. And like I said, you talk about the history side, we talk about lunch, we got to go to the governor's mansion, the governor's china. I mean, it's the same place. Like I said, these are all political, historical figures that we got to access to go see. It was like, to me, that was amazing. It was amazing.
And you also realize that people who are in Baton Rouge are people.
That's right.
They're you and I trying to do a job, and I represent a group of people. I'm trying to make some good decisions. A lot of this has to do with funding. I need to be able to think about my local community, but I also need to think about what's best for the state. And we're all just people, and we're just like going to any other job. I'm trying to do a good job.
Well, I'll say this part when you talk about the people side. Like I said, I took that away from this whole experience, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'd like to get this out publicly. Like like I said, John Bell Edwards, tend to be a Republican state, and he's a Democrat, Democratic governor. But a lot of people don't realize, like, the staff that is at the governor's mansion came from Angola, and they're prisoners. And a lot of people don't realize that, what was it, Thanksgiving or Christmas, that he serves them.
I believe it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and
Yep, his family let them sit down, and they served them.
and they don't publicize that. It's not a political move. It's doing it because they're people, And I want to get that out. Like, that's the stories you want to get out. And people, like, it wasn't told to us from the governor's mansion. It was told from somebody else who we knew that was from our class, but that knew the story. So to hear that it's sobering. It's very cool.
Well, guys, we're bumping up on an hour and a half now, and I think that's actually pretty good considering everything that we just
That's right.
covered. So just a couple quick things here in the end. So leadership Tangipahoa. Does this class build leaders?
I think it creates great opportunities. All of us live and work here, but every week I say this: I went somewhere that I never went.
That's right.
I learned something about my community that I never knew existed, or if I knew a little bit about it, I learned a lot more about it. I also made connections and met people, at all of these places. I got a lot of business cards. I communicated with them about internship opportunities from our students and what can we do. And then I also have a group of 25 people who are kind of in the same place that I am and are looking for opportunities to connect. For me, that's what I thought. It was kind of like taking me and setting me on like the entry ramp of the highway. Mm-hmm. Like, we have created this opportunity for you, and we're going to turn you loose now.
What I got from it is, so I've been to some leadership classes, and they sit down and they teach you how to speak as a leader and how to combine the group and everybody think together, and it's very structured. This was very organic, and what to me, it's not a leadership training class, if somebody thinks that here in the title.
Right.
This was a foundation to broaden your thinking, and you put yourself in as different as everybody in the class was. We were alike, and when we thought about everybody was thinking, how can we make everything better? You know, we did some stuff for the Council on Aging, and it was just a quick organic. Hey, how can we? They had a need, and we all threw up, you know, our ideas, and we got it done. But that's what I got from it. Everybody was like, you know, we go back to this human side. Everybody said, how can we make it better? And nobody was competing. Nobody was, my idea is better than your idea. It's how can we do it together? That's what you get. And what it brings to me is this pride. I already had it, but it gave me so much more pride for our area to call it home. When you go to these other parishes, when I work out of the parish, and I never was, but especially now, you're not afraid to say, I'm from Tangipahoa Parish. You're proud of it. It's Team Tangi. That's what you get from these type events. So if those who think that it's a leadership thing, it gives you a foundation of knowledge, but it also gives you these side things of how can we be better as a group, how to be cohesive. It's not planned. It's not on a piece of paper. It's just a natural, you're with other people that you know are good people. And that's what you get from these type programs. So if you're ever wondering, should I join Leadership Tangipahoa? That's not really my gig. Is it worth me taking a day off a month for a year or 10 months? You'll get more out of it than just how the parish is funded. Where's our health care going? Where's our state going? It's more than that. It's way more than that. So if you ever thought that you might want to do it, take the leap. You know, this is what you get out of it. It's less of the knowledge and more of how can we make our better and the pride that you get from doing it.
Brian, what'd you think?
Well, when I was asked to participate, it sounded like something cool to do. It wasn't something that I had always dreamt of doing or had this overwhelming desire to do. But I did look at it as a good opportunity. But coming out of it, man, I mean, it truly was a great opportunity. I thought that I knew a lot about our parish. I thought I knew a lot about the organizations that we went and visited. And I realized that I didn't know anything. It was such a great opportunity. And, you know, my advice to anyone who is thinking about doing it is just absolutely jump in. It's not a free program. It's $1,000, $1,000 investment. Most of the people that are there are sponsored by their employer.
Right.
So, you know, if this is something that you want to do, my advice would be go talk to your employer, convince them of why this is going to, or how it's going to benefit them, which it absolutely will.
Yeah.
And
just to throw this out there, because I was one of them, there is an opportunity, like my organization is not a true employer, so there is some opportunity for scholarships on the individual side that if you don't have an employer that sponsors you, don't let that hinder you. It's not a guarantee, but there are other opportunities. So, but it is true. There is an investment to it, not just financially, but there is a time investment. You have to attend every event or make it up. But
Yeah, but you got to admit, this was your favorite 9 days of the year.
Everybody said it when you left. Everybody, like when you got to the second, third time, you missed what you just left, and you were already looking forward to the next one. Everybody said it.
Yeah, and as an adult, you know, at my stage in life, how many opportunities do you get to say, I'm going to learn and grow and connect with a bunch of other people that I'm going to be able to be friends with, and have an opportunity to impact my community. I mean, this was just a fantastic opportunity for the individuals who were in the team. And you heard that from alumni.
That's right.
You know, as you encounter an alumni of Leadership Tangipahoa, they all say, oh my gosh, you know, I'm jealous that you're doing this because this was such a great experience for me. That alumni look back on this as what a wonderful year it was.
That's right. When you talk, you know, we talked earlier about Brian's wife, Kim's going to be joining, and Brian and I are, you know, we all kind of joke with her about like, it's coming, like kind of like she doesn't know what she's getting into.
Right.
But, you know, and like I said, it's a family. You become part of the alumni group. We meet as an alumni group afterwards, and like I said, you learn more than you've ever realized. And like I said, a lot of times the big thing too is the questions that you had, at least now you know where to go find them,
Right.
or who to call, you know, and like I said, I was blessed to be able to do it. I was thoroughly enjoyed it. It was awesome.
All right. Any last pieces of advice or anything that we didn't cover?
Don't underestimate what you have here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Don't
right.
underestimate it. We
It
have
is.
more than you realize. People complain. They're quick to complain. You need to start celebrating what we have here, because I said in our little speech, you know, at our graduation, when you go to Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A is not worried about McDonald's and about Burger King. We need to worry about us. Quit worrying about St. Tammany and Livingston and all these other surrounding and how great they're doing. Worry about us. We have a lot here. Let's harvest it. Let's water it. Let's grow it. We have an awesome parish. Don't forget it. You know,
I agree.
Well, guys, I appreciate y'all joining me.
Thanks for
I'm
having
honored.
us.
Yeah.
Honored.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if anyone who's listening to this has any questions or anything about Leadership Tangipahoa, feel free to reach out to any of us about it.
Correct.
We're happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, excited about the new class coming in. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.